This is Harry Judd for Boxing Social. I'm delighted to be joined by Blain Younis. You know, it's long awaited for you probably this week. Obviously with the cancellation in November, fight week is here now. It's again, like I've said previously, it's becoming ever so real, Blain.
Yeah, like you say, we'd done pretty much a full camp when it got postponed the first time. But then, to be fair, I think it worked out for the best. Ricky had not been in the ring for 10 years. Me and him had never done pads together before. Do you know, we'd never sparred. He'd not sparred in 10 years. Do you know, so that first camp, we spent a lot of time getting used to each other. Do you know, my coaching methods, gelling on the pads and stuff like that. Just getting him back in the ring, getting a few rounds sparring. So then I think, if anything, the postponement was a blessing in disguise. Because then that second camp, he had a break, and then that second camp, we've sort of hit the ground running. We was used to each other on the pads. We'd sourced what sparring we wanted and stuff like that. And you know, and that second time round, it's been more about him just getting fight fit and getting ready to go, rather than getting used to everything again. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's worked out quite well, to be fair. Yeah.
When he mentioned that he's looking at coming back out of retirement and doing an exhibition, when you found out the news, what was your first opinion? Or first reaction, not opinion, first reaction, let's say.
Yeah, I don't know. I was a bit like, all right, let's see if he's backs his words up here, do you know. And I was wondering how he was going to treat it, because it's an exhibition. I was thinking, is he just going to, you know, just tick over through training and do a bit of this and a bit of that and get in and, you know, not take it too serious, or is he going to treat it as if it's a proper fight? And it's been nice to see he's treated it as a proper fight. You know, he's been serious. He's done training with the lads. He's done everything the lads have done, and I've put him through it. Like, as you've seen, you've been here a few times, haven't you? But again, as soon as he got his head on it, he wanted to be doing what all the younger lads were doing in the gym, doing what, you know, Brad Ray's doing and Chloe Watson's doing, and better. So it was good, because he's been like dragged on by them, but at the same time, when they've seen how hard he's working, they're getting pulled on by him. So it's bounced around the gym. It's been brilliant.
Great opportunity for you, but also it must have been a structured, because you can't push Ricky so hard and stuff so fast on you. Yeah, you must have. Yeah, how have you sort of structured the session and structured his comeback camp?
Yeah, to be fair, with every fighter, at the beginning of a camp, it starts a lot lighter and less rounds of whatever you're doing, and then you build it up throughout the camp, obviously till you hit a peak and reach the peak just before the fight. So it was the same kind of structure, but obviously it was a lot slower with Rick to begin with. You know, it was more just getting him working that little bit harder. He's always ticked over. Everyone sees on his social media and stuff, he's always hitting the bag, doing his jogging. But it was a case of, when he's on the treadmill, knocking it up a couple on the speed, you know, and then it was a case of getting him off the bag, tapping away, to getting on the pads and letting a bit of meat in his shots and stuff. So obviously that gasses you out pretty quick. So it was a case of, at the start, say we was doing 5-6 rounds, it was a case of, right, we'll do 2 on the pads, you know, and you get used to me and you get used to each other a little bit, and then do 4 on the bags. Then after that, 3 on the pads, 3 on the bag, and just building it up like that and building up the intensity. We found in the first camp as well, there was a couple of little things we noticed. We're giving him little niggles and, you know, things. Obviously, because he's not done it for so long. Yeah. So it was, that first one was a bit of a learning curve, and the second camp round, he's not had a single niggle. Considering how hard he's been working, every fighter gets little niggles in camp and stuff like that. And we found in the first one, you know, if he was doing certain training methods, he was a bit like, well, you know, shoulders hurting here, knees hurting there. So it was a bit of a learning curve, but then he had that rest, and then second camp, everything's been bang on. And again, second time round, we was able to structure it like a normal camp, because he's already got fit in that first one. So it was just like working with the other fighters. So it was good, yeah.
The first camp was, like you said, about getting fit and getting the weight off and getting back active, etc. And obviously this camp is now about technique and obviously the more boxing side of the camp and training sessions. Today we were blessed with Marco Antonio Barrera's presence, open workout, media workout on that ring just behind you there. Seeing him up close, seeing him in that ring, what have you taken anything from today?
To be fair, I'd seen a few little clips of his exhibitions from last year. There's not much you can find, but typical Mexican loves a fight, doesn't he? We know that from back in the day. Yeah. But looking at the exhibitions, we've seen little clips where it looks like he likes to let his hands go in flurries and stuff like that. So we was half expecting that, and then it was today when I was watching him in the public workout. It seemed like that's what he was doing on the pads. He was letting a lot of shots go. So it's good that it's half kind of what we've been expecting. And then looking at what he was doing on the pads and that today, it looks like that's going to be what he's looking at doing.
It's been good today for you to see how Marco is in the ring, but I guess people that have been here today, it's good for us as well, because looking at that workout from both men and being here with Ricky as well, we are in for a real big fight on Saturday. Both men are in incredible condition, are taking it really seriously.
Oh yeah, you could see, they both letting the shots go in that public workout. And what I did like about it was, I don't like these public workouts where, you get hyped up, you go to these big shopping centres or whatever, you get there, and then the main event gets in and does a bit of skipping. Yeah. So I always make sure, say my fighters, for example, if we're in the public workouts, we're ready to go, we're hitting pads, we're nice and sharp, bit of body belt if needed, stuff like that. Stuff people want to see. Yeah. Obviously, we don't take nothing out of them. But just make it what the public want to see. Now, I don't like it when I'm at a public workout and you see people doing a bit of skipping and shadow boxing. I think, come on, get the pads on, do a bit of something. I want to see how sharp you look and that. So I loved it today, how Barrera there, he was there whacking away at the pads. He got the paddles out. He's doing a proper workout. Same with me and Rick. We got in. You're not just going to see us skipping and shadow boxing. Got in, Ricky, we're looking sharp, hitting the pads nice and crisp. And it's better viewing for people. And like you say there, it builds up the momentum for the fight, doesn't it? Everyone's getting excited now for Saturday.
You mentioned your fighters. Huge night for Brad Ray, English title fight. Just talk me through, because I've spoken to you off camera before, this English title, domestic fights, British title fights, is that the pathway or journey that you want to see Brad Ray go through?
Yeah. Me and Brad have worked together, quite a number of years now through the amateurs as well. I was working with him. So he turned pro with me, had his debut, and the plan from day one was we're both on that same idea of we like the domestic route, Central area title, English title, British title, and then, one of us big goals is the British title, and then if we get that, reassess and push on from there. We couldn't get an opponent really for the Central area, so we've kind of had to skip that, but we would have liked that. But Brad's now 14-0. We've took on, since COVID, we've took on 4 50-50 fights. He's won all 4 of them. And it's all been in prep for this English title. And we've got to the point where we wanted a shot at the English title. We've shouted it out, and to be fair, as soon as we've shouted it out, Steve Woods of VIP, Brad's manager, and Boxer have delivered it as soon as we've wanted it, so we couldn't have asked for any more, really.
And credit to you and Brad, and obviously, for Tyler, for taking this fight. It's a fight which I guess you didn't have to take. You could have taken easier routes, but credit to both of you. Again, this is what you're in the sport for, Blain.
No, yeah, 100%. I like fighters that go through an honest career. And that's what any fighter that works under me will do that. And the good thing is Brad's got that same mindset. So we're both happy to go through the stages as needed. We don't need to go around the houses like you see some fighters doing. We're happy to go in a straight line through the levels. If Brad was to win the English title on Saturday, we'd be looking at a path towards the Commonwealth or the British, and then we'd start planning and creating that path, which is what we've done to get to this English. So again, these are the fights we want to be in, and I'm a fan of, again, like I said on the public workouts, give people what they want to see. Same with the fights. If we could be getting foreigners over that, they've got decent records. It could be a big win for people like us that are in the know, but for people that are watching and on TV and the lads that you're selling tickets to them it's like, you've just beat some German or so, Whereas if it's British fights and it's a domestic dust-up, I feel like it brings a lot more interest and and Brad's profile will raise that bit better.
And also gives you an indication, because you know this, the fight, obviously the fight that he's fighting, British level, and another British fighter, gives you an indication on your end a little bit more on where he is, Brad, in his career.
No, yeah, definitely, and that's where so far I think we've steered his career quite well. We've took risk, but we've took calculated risk. We've took little step ups since COVID. Once COVID, we trained all through COVID, and we're just like, right, we're ready to go now. No more journeyman. Let's step up, get a 50-50, and we were shouting for it and was asking for it. We're telling Steve to ring this and that, and then Matchroom offered it us against Lee Cutler. Brad gets in, does the business, and then from there on, boxers just give us that platform, signed him up, and they're delivering the fights that we're asking for. We have had a good say in our opponents, and I feel like we've picked the right ones. Little step up each time. Again, 50-50s, unbeaten lads. Some he's won with, quick knockouts. Some, like the Jez Smith fight, hard 8 rounds in the bank. So we're getting a bit of everything as well, and I feel like it's prepared us perfect to go into this English title fight.
Moving quickly back onto Ricky. Lastly, you probably know a question I'm going to ask. There is rumours, speculation. I mean, I was at the Mayweather press conference on Friday. He mentioned that he'd like to come to the UK next year to fight. Do you know anything? Is there any chance of that happening in 2023 between him and Ricky?
Do you know what? The first I've heard of this, I seen it on Instagram yesterday, and I was like, here we go. But I seen, obviously, I was reading stuff about Mayweather wanted to fight in the UK in February or something like that, and I'd seen that stuff already. The next thing yesterday, Rick was in London. He weren't in the gym yesterday, and they was doing some media stuff in London with Sky. Next thing you know, I see Sky Sports posting everywhere, Rick saying, yeah, if Mayweather wants to fight, I'll have a fight. And I thought, fucking hell.
Is it a fight you're interested in, or is it a fight that, again, let's steer clear away, or let's just focus on Saturday, perhaps?
I think, like you say, training's gone brilliant with Rick, and everything's been good, but you never know how it's going to look on fight night and what's going to happen. Do I'm not one of them that's going to just absolutely big something up. We don't know what's going to happen. He might get in there, you might see his age, you might see the time out of the ring, you might see all that. Hopefully not. And if that's the case, I think I am the kind of person to say the truth, and I will say to him, I don't think you want too many of them. But if he gets in there and does a good enough job, and it's a good fight, and all being well, and we all come out happy with it, what's not to say there's a few more exhibitions down the line. Don't know who with. I also seen Speaky calling out Conor McGregor yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. Ricky's against that, though, I'll be honest. He's not, because in terms of Conor McGregor, he's size of the man now.
Yeah. Well, that was the first. Someone said to me today, did you see? And I was like, yeah. They went, what do you think? I went, Conor's massive. So, yeah, I think people around him...
Just plucking names out the sky now.
Yeah, it's just like, right, who can he fight? He's a big man. Let's all have a rumble. To be fair, if you just get them all in, do some WWE Royal Rumble or something instead, get them all in. But yeah, there's no saying there's no more down the line, but I personally don't know anything. The first I seen of it was yesterday on Instagram, to be fair. So, yeah.